The air in Jonestown was thick with fear and tension. On the pavilion stage, Jim Jones sat, his voice crackling through loudspeakers, no longer filled with hope, but with paranoia. He spoke of enemies lurking everywhere, painting the outside world as cruel and unforgiving. The people listened, hearts pounding, trusting the man they had followed into the jungle. Jones reminded them of the dream he'd promised, a home free from racism and injustice. But now, that home felt like a cage, and he was the one holding the key. The pressure was immense. The world was closing in. He spoke of a white night, a final rest, a journey to freedom through revolutionary suicide. The sun set, casting long shadows as Jones's final sermon echoed, a goodbye, not a blessing. Some nodded, some cried, but most trusted him. He was their father, and they believed he would protect them. As his voice faded into darkness, the stage was set for a tragedy the world would never forget. The final sermon was over. The silence that followed was deafening. The community, exhausted and afraid, clung to his words. They had left everything behind for this man, for this dream. Now the dream was slipping away. Jones's eyes scanned the crowd, knowing the end was near. The jungle seemed to hold its breath. The countdown had begun. The people waited, uncertain and afraid. The night pressed in, heavy and final. Jonestown was on the edge of darkness. The world would soon know their fate. Who was Jim Jones? He began as a charismatic preacher in 1950s Indiana, preaching equality and love. He founded the People's Temple, welcoming all races, a radical act at the time. Outsiders found belonging, food and hope in his church. Jones's influence grew. He moved his followers to California, gaining political power and respect. But behind the scenes, he demanded absolute loyalty, controlling every aspect of his followers' lives. Questioning him became betrayal. The loving community turned into a prison of invisible walls. Jones's message shifted. He called himself a god, staged fake miracles, and isolated his followers from the world. He promised a new Eden in Guyana, far from America's chaos. Over 900 people followed him into the jungle, believing in a brighter future. They sold everything, trusting Jones completely. The dream of paradise blinded them to the danger. They had no idea they were walking toward the end. The seeds of tragedy were sown. Jonestown began as a hopeful experiment, a self-sufficient community in the Guyanese jungle. For a moment it felt like paradise, but the work was grueling, food was scarce, and freedom was an illusion. Armed guards patrolled, no one could leave. Jones's voice blared day and night, drowning out hope. Reports of abuse reached the US, and relatives demanded answers. Congressman Leo Ryan announced a visit, sending Jones into panic. He saw Ryan's arrival as a threat to everything he'd built. The walls closed in, Jones's paranoia deepened, drug addiction fueled his delusions. He ranted about conspiracies, convincing followers they were surrounded by enemies. Jonestown became a fortress under siege, ruled by fear. The dream was dead, only desperation remained. Inside Jim Jones, fear and paranoia raged. The confident leader's mask hid a desperate, cornered man. He demanded loyalty, sowed distrust, and forced followers to spy on each other. Love and terror became his tools. One moment a caring father, the next a tyrant. Public humiliation and abuse kept everyone off balance. He convinced them that death was a revolutionary act, a protest against a cruel world. In his mind, he was a savior, not a murderer. His madness would lead them all to the edge. Jones rehearsed the end with chilling white night drills. Alarms blared. Everyone gathered, told to drink poison as a test of loyalty. Each time it was only a drill, but it broke down resistance, making the unthinkable routine. Fear and exhaustion wore them down. Death became familiar, almost a relief. Jones framed it as a peaceful release, a final act of faith. The line between life and death blurred. The community was ready to obey his final command. November 18th, 1978, the final white night. Congressman Ryan and others visited Jonestown. Some followers tried to leave. As they departed, Jones's guards ambushed them. Ryan and 4 others were killed. Jones knew the end had come. He called everyone to the pavilion, announcing it was time. He claimed enemies would torture their children, only revolutionary suicide could save them. This time, the poison was real. Chaos and confusion erupted. Some pleaded for another way, but most were too exhausted to resist. Children died first, poison administered by syringe. Parents wept, some helped, all trapped. Adults lined up, drank, and lay down beside loved ones. Over 900 died. Nearly a third were children. Jones was found dead by gunshot, his final act of control. The jungle was silent. The world would awaken to horror. Jonestown was gone. Jonestown is a warning. A story of hope twisted into tragedy by blind faith. Jim Jones exploited people's dreams, turning community into control. He used isolation, fear, and the promise of salvation to build a prison of belief. The lesson: question authority. Seek different perspectives and never surrender your judgment. The victims were not mindless. They were searching for a better life. Their story is a human tragedy, born from hope and trust. Remember them and learn from their fate. Power and control still threaten us today. The most important freedom is to think for ourselves. Jonestown's sorrow must never be forgotten.